We covered Path of Exile 2 in AUG, and recently GGG revealed tons of exciting news and changes. It is literally fire. Let's go over it. First, we can see some character classes and their variants. There's 1,500 nodes in the passive tree, and all the classes use the same tree. However, they start on different locations, so the warrior starts on the bottom left side here. And because of the fact he starts there, he gets access to a lot more of the merely focused elements on the tree. There's also other big nodes on the tree, called keystones, and keystones are unique because they have both upsides and downsides. So an example of one right here is called Giant's Blood. Mind over matter damage taken from Manner Before Life, but you have 50% less minor recovery rate. So if we allocate ones in red here, these passes will only be used when you've got a two-hand weapon, and if you allocate passives in green using the other one here, these passes will only be allocated when you're holding the other weapon set when he's using his one-hand weapon effectively, what button out or switch from one set to the other. So that means that he can effectively dynamically adjust as passive. So one of the things that's important is that you can actually move these skill gems, support gems around between skills. The Stampede skill here, if you've got a shield, then when you use the skill, it will be blocking the entire time. So if you use a Stampede because you hold your shield in front of you, you're blocking the entire time you're charging. And using the one-hand weapon will also a lot because it's got higher a speed, so that something would much rather with a one-hand weapon. But for example, we're doing our Earthquake or our Double Slam. This is something that we probably only want to use with our two-hand weapon because we want to do the most damage.
Of one of them here. These are things that you can socket into your passive tree to be able to get more stats. So this one says 15% increased maximum energy shield, and minions have plus 7% to all elemental resistances. Now, because of the fact that you can roll these yourself and stack them, there's some pretty interesting things you can do with jewels. And there's also jewels that have other kind of random and weird effects. Like, for example, this one here says says that 25% increased effect of small passive skills and radius. So this one actually modifies the other skills on the passive tree to improve them. With some interesting things and some interesting overlaps, you can do some pretty cool stuff with those as well.
This one here, called Grim Feast, feeds on corpses to bolster your energy shield. But we've got lots of these for all classes. For example, on Sorceress, there's one here called Raging Spirits, which means that every time you use a fire skill, that someone's a raging spirit. It's somewhere between like an active and a passive, but for the minion parrot in particular, they're going to want to get a lot of spirit because all minions are paid for with the same resource. We've actually buffed flasks significantly so that each flask has a lot more charges, but you only get one of each type. One of the main things that people were doing, and here we won when they were using flask because they're using the other fast slots for mostly things that were making them resistant to various element types and so on. And so GGG wanted to have a system to allow that to still be the case. The boss location will now be displayed on the map, and the boss will drop items that directly make the character stronger, such as items that directly increase talent points.
Lightning Rod!
Mod magic. If you use an Orb of Augmentation, it'll add an extra mod to make it into a 2-mod magic. You've also got Regal Orbs that will turn it into a 3-mod rare. Sanctum League from PoE 1. So we've actually done quite a lot of sequels to Leagues from PoE 1 with new mechanics and new stuff, but all of them have new things going on. Keys can be used at the end of the trial to be able to get rewards, but effectively you have to be able to survive the entire trial to be able to claim them. Now this is the map for the trial, and you can effectively pick what type of room you'd like to go to next. There are a few different issues. One of them is that the next room will have a type, so for a type of trial. For example, here's an hourglass trial, and it also has a type of reward, but also some of them have boons or afflictions that might get you. So this one says, for example, when you enter it, that it'll afflict you with blunt sword on entry, which means you and your minions deal 40% less damage. We probably don't want to do that as a minion build, but they have better rewards in exchange for that. In the normal game, if you take hits in this mode, then you're going to lose a resource called honor. If you run out of honor, then you have to leave the trial. So effectively, you want to really try and play these runs as hitless as possible, and that means that all the monsters we've selected usually have to be avoidable in some way, have dodgeable mechanics, and that's sort of why Octavian is playing as safely as he possibly can here. He doesn't want to get too close to the boss or that monster there, because he doesn't want to lose honor. And there's also 4 floors as well. This is just the first floor. Each floor looks different and has different mechanics, rewards, and so on as well. So there's quite a lot of content here. And once again, like I said, there's got to be ways as well for it to sort of expand into endgame, have more, have ways to expand it and ways to make it both more damaging and more rewarding. Once you've, the first time you use the Order of Ascendancy, you get to pick between 3 different Ascendancy classes. In Early Access, there's only going to be 2 available for each class, and we're going to be adding the rest later. And those give you interesting things that are only available to your class, because no other class gets those things on the passive tree. But there's some pretty interesting ones as well. Let's have another look at another couple. Bosses deal 4% reduced damage. These ones are very low level and simple, but they can get quite powerful. If you click on the relic altar before you start your run, put a coin in, then you've got these slots here that you can put the relics in, and you can also unlock more slots by doing this more in order to be able to put more in. Finishing the Ascension trial was kind of an ancient rite for the Vaal that conveyed power and respect. Entry requires a token from a strange entity called the Trial Master. And this is actually a sequel to a league from PoE 1 called Ultimatum, but it works very differently.
You're going to have to pick from one of the downsides that's going to affect you for the entire rest of the trial.
Coagulated masses befall you.
Lightning damage, if you put it in a shield, then, an armor, you're going to get 10% lightning resistance. Now this is player power. You can't get any other way than sockets, and it's only unlocked through content that you can get through here. That one gave him a socket. Excellent. So now he'll be able to upgrade his bow with a soul core to get an extra mod. So that's really valuable. Probably wouldn't have picked that one, but that's fine. That's what he had. Then we've also got, let's see in some other results. That one just modified random mods on the item, so probably not good, not what you wanted. That's a bad outcome. On the other hand here, all right, added another mod, 25% increased armor evasion. That's a very good roll. Now the storyline here effectively is that there's corruption from the beast has spread across the land, and you're going to need to try and cleanse it. Now this is actually an infinitely scrolling map that goes in all directions and contains all areas you can go to. You can go to each map only one time, so you're going to want to, you'll kind of try and want to find interesting places to go. So if we get an orb of transmutation here, we can use that on there to get a mod on the item. Now the prefixes are benefits to you, and the suffixes are negatives to you. So this is something that we've changed a little bit how it works. So that means that you can just get a map that's just a straight up boon to you if you do a single content, have their own trees. Each one of them is kind of like an Ascendancy class, and then for that content. But there's also a primary tree that you get just for killing maps. So there's a tree here for cleansing maps. There's also a tree for killing bosses, and then trees for doing other content on the Atlas as well. So you can kind of you don't have to choose between. Well, rather, you can choose to do a piece of content, but you're not going to be losing anything from any of the other pieces of content when you decide to do them later. Effectively, they all have their own kind of scaling in that way. So if you open a tower, it gives you this interface. You can put the tablet in there, and then when you use it, it affects the local area and adds a bunch of breaches around the place. So what that means is that all the content is self-reinforcing. If you want to play breaches, then you're going to find these tablets. You're going to use those to add more breaches to maps in the area and also boost what the breaches are doing, and then which will get you more tablets, which will get you more and more, and so on. Books have various mods and things as well, and then once you go there, then you can do an expedition that has a lot more you get a lot more dynamite to make it a much larger string. So there's a lot more strategy in picking what type of things you want to find. Also, if you there's also things like bosses and uniques and like special underground areas and things like that to find. So there's just quite a lot of stuff hidden under the ground that you want to do.
Omens are a high-level crafting item that you can use to make more targeted changes to your item. So let's have a look at what they do. Here's an item here where we might like the prefixes, but thinks the suffixes are crap.
Existing supporters who have spent more than, I think it's around $500, basically the highest tier supporter pack in the past, will also get access for free as well. So we're expecting to, because effectively, it is a game the size of most retail games that come out. We would expect like a pretty significant number of players to be able to play, but there's still a lot of work for us to do. Obviously, we've got a lot more content to add, and a lot more things to do, there's by the time we're finished, I'm hoping that PoE 2 will be, as we get to release, will feel like it's as large as PoE 1 is easily.